Do we need to add it to the agenda? Or?
We're going to do that during our.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Appreciate everybody being here on a beautiful April day. First item on our agenda is our public hearing. It's concerning rezoning of certain property on Booth Creek Road from R4, which is transitional residential, to PRD, which is planned residential district. Is there anyone here to talk about that? Okay, if not, we'll close that hearing and move into our regular meeting. First item on the agenda is our opening prayer by Vice Mayor Dixon.
Let us all pray. Dear God, we thank you for this another day, God, you've allowed us to see. God, we thank you for manifold blessings. God, only you can provide. We thank you, God, for life, health, and strength. God, we thank you for joy. Even in difficult times, Lord God, we can still persevere because of joy. I'm told that it's the joy of the Lord that is our strength. And so, God, we just thank you for how you provide for humanity. God, even in difficult times, and even when there's tension and strain in the world, Lord God, we thank you that you are a God of peace, and that, God, you are a God of reconciliation. And so, God, we thank you for just, again, who you are and what you mean to us. God, we ask this evening that you bless this meeting and our deliberations. May everything be to your glory. And God, we ask it all in your name. God, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Adam. Ruth, who do you have for the pledge?
Jim Wheeler.
All right, Jim.
Please salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ruth. Okay. All right. Madam Recorder, roll call, please.
Mayor Best.
Here.
Alderman Callahan.
Here.
Alderman Causey.
Here.
Alderman Cunningham.
Here.
Alderman Dixon.
Here.
All right, we're all present. Great to see everybody here. Add something to the consent agenda, Jim. Is that okay to do? Something. We need to sell some surplus product that, or truck that Craig brought up. Can we add that to the consent agenda?
My vote, yes, sir.
Okay. Alderman, if you would, Craig has a 2006 auto car garbage truck we need to liquidate. If somebody would add that to the consent agenda, we'll
So move.
knock that out. I got a motion to approve from Alderman Callahan.
Second.
Second from Alderman Countermine. Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. We added that to the agenda, and hopefully we can get some top dollar for that, Craig.
We'll do our best.
Yep. All right. Alderman, is anything on the consent agenda you would like to be have pulled, discuss?
I just have one question. I don't want it pulled.
Okay.
On the truck for the water distribution, this is the second vehicle, Craig, that we've purchased for them, and it's come over the price of what was in here. Is there a reason why this one is so much more than what was estimated it to be? I should have asked that question earlier. I'm sorry.
I can,
Okay. Glenn?
Glenn?
so the statewide contract, when we were budgeting, I guess about a year ago, there was, the pricing back, last year was a certain price, and then this one came in, supposed to be the same, all bells and whistles that we require of the trucks and everything, but it came in higher than
Okay.
the other statewide contract.
I didn't know if it was something extra we're adding to it or not. Okay.
And I would say too, in that, capital project, there was also a piece of equipment in there that was purchased, and we were able to purchase that for less than that equipment price sometime back. So the end result is it should not come in over
Okay.
the total budget.
Very good. Anything else, Alderman? Just, we got a lot of personnel things in the, in that consent agenda this time. We got, a couple of retirements in there. One, Terry Alexander there, our website maintenance coordinator, and we're looking to tweak some things in that area. And, we're gonna welcome a new marketing and promotions coordinator, Nora Davis, I think coming over from Kingsport, so, happy to add Cameo's team there. And Morgan Smith and Sarah Norton, I think, are both coming on board here too. One at the Senior Center and one here at Town Hall. Quite other workers there too, getting appointed through our workforce, so happy to see that. All right.
Sharp, the person working with Cameo, sharp young lady.
All right, very good. Was you on that committee, I think?
I was not.
You know? Well, I value your opinion there, Adam. It's good to hear. If there's no questions, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Alderman Countermine,
I'll second, Mayor.
second from Alderman Dixon. Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
All right, motion carried. Yeah, one other thing that was in there, I've had a lot of people ask about it. One was getting a little bit closer to the red light there at 11E and Tigers Way. It's going to be the street going to the new school in the future. We've already had that project approved, and I guess it's the next step in the process. Glenn, do you want to talk to that real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, Kent? This will give us another red light in Jonesborough. Shoot, we're getting up there almost to double digits. I think we're about 7, I think.
Apparently it was before I was hired, so I'm just kidding. So sure, originally, and actually by the time when it first went in, it was Smith Lane, but of course we changed it to Tiger Way.
Yep.
A great recommendation from Craig Ford, who named that road. But sure, so right now in the process, we had to have staff do a couple of different trainings that TDOT required. So through the COVID, we had to hustle through. Once they opened it up, our director of streets, Malcolm Highsmith, he was able to complete all those certifications. And then we had to go through almost like an interview with TDOT to make sure we can, between us and a future contractor, can actually handle the project. So we passed on that as well. And the next step is supposed to be a contract for the actual project itself, and then TDOT will, since it's a TDOT funded or through the federal highways, TDOT will orchestrate basically the contractors. Mattern and Craig is what helped us with the warranty study that basically warranted a traffic signal. And so our hope is that TDOT, who has them on a qualified list, will choose them for us, since we have a great working relationship with them. I'd anticipate probably in the next 30 or 60 days we'll have that contract. It'll come before the board, and then we'll start talking through steps of actual requests for proposals and all that. So it's not a lengthy project, but it's a cumbersome, methodical project, which of course, again, like you said, another red light. Sometimes they are green. So, but yeah, it's one of those projects that a seed was planted, and we're coming to somewhat of fruition on it, and I'll keep reporting back to the board as we progress.
Thanks, Glenn. That's a busy little intersection, and it's going to get busier and busier, so, glad to see that happening. All right, next item on the agenda is our financial report. Flip all the consent stuff out of the way. That was a big part of it right there. Alderman, you got any comments about the financial report? If not, I'll just make a brief mention. Our sales tax collections were very healthy again. This might have been our best month in collections percentage-wise. Looks like we almost had a 30% increase, probably about a 28% increase, so a little uptick, and we've been running consistently about 20% up in sales tax collection, and to see that surpass that, it's pretty healthy. It's good to see, and we'll probably see those numbers continue to climb. I know out there in the retail world right now, which is where you derive your sales tax dollars from, the consumer is still purchasing at a high rate, and the stimulus checks are getting spent. And then you got tax refunds coming in right now, pretty healthy, so it's gonna be nothing but pretty strong collections, I think, all the way through probably, July or so, and so that's positive. All right, if there's no comments, I'll take a motion to approve the financial report.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Alderman Causey,
Second.
second from Alderman Callahan. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. All right, now we've got a few things here from myself. We've got a proclamation for Arbor Day. Is anyone here for that? Okay, I'll just read through this real quick. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday be called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the town of Jonesborough has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting practices. Now, therefore, I, Chuck Vest, Mayor of the town of Jonesborough, Tennessee, do hereby proclaim April 27, 2021 as the Arbor Day celebration at 11 o'clock at the Adrena Woods Arboretum as the kickoff ceremony for Arbor Day in the town of Jonesborough, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day, to support the efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and to join us at the town's tree planting ceremony. All right, so we're looking forward to that. We do our fair share of planting trees in Jonesborough. Just a quick mention, we had a resident, Patricia Hale, send a nice letter in about our police and street departments. And we've got a pretty busy little Boones Creek Road there, and a tough little intersection that turns off and goes on to the old Boones Creek Road or cuts up to Food City. And we've got that speed limit set there at 30. And I tell you, if people drive 30, it makes that intersection so much safer. It really does. But when people come out there and want to do 45 and 50, it doesn't really help. It's hard to pull out from that street when people are going that speed. And I think she might have passed that concern on to Chief Street, which we've all had. And Chief Street and Malcolm kind of responded. I know I've seen some of the speed limit devices out there to kind of slow people down. So she was just complimenting on how Chief Street and Malcolm followed through on her request. So we appreciate her taking the time to send that in to us. And just keep up the good work there. I think the more we do it, the better habits people will keep there on that street, and hopefully prevent an accident. And Craig and the team, I think they constructed a beautiful bridge there in Mill Springs Park. Looks really good. I was out there yesterday during a JRT event. They was doing a little live play outdoors, which was great. Great venue for that. And they're going to do more of them in the future, so everybody should try to attend one. But the bridge looks really good. I think you got all the staining done now, so now I'm sure you've moved on to something else now, but that's appreciate you all getting on that. Looks great. And it looks like Lincoln Park, you guys have Summers Taylor coming down, looks like in May to start the concrete work up there, which is a big part of that project. Happy to see that. And thanks to Alderman Countermine, we'd like to make Alderman, if you will, some appointments to our Keep Jonesborough Beautiful Committee. We have some vacancies there, and Terry was nice enough to bring us some names, including his own, which we're happy to see that. So if I may, Alderman, would somebody make a motion to include Mark Merriman, Erica Malpass, Sandy, and Terry Countermine to the Keep Jonesborough Beautiful Committee?
I'll move, Mayor.
A motion to approve that from Alderman Dixon,
Second.
second from Alderman Causey. Any other discussion? We call for the vote, Madam Recorder?
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman County.
Aye.
All right, good.
That's for your.
We wrote Terry in for another one. Thank you, Terry, we appreciate that. And now, we have Employee of the Month. And it's always good to see the movers and shakers of Jonesborough getting these nominations and awards. But William Foster, is he here? There you are. All right, William, I get to read what they said about you. It's all good this time. I am recommending William Foster for Employee of the Month. William has been with the town of Jonesborough for over 18 years. That's what makes Jonesborough a special place. His experience allows him to work in nearly every aspect within our sewer collection system. What stands out about him is his commitment to his job, fellow workers, and family. He is a single parent, primary caregiver for his mother, and often one of the first people to volunteer to complete tasks outside of his normal work duties. He consistently responds to emergency situations after hours and always follows through on his responsibilities. His time management and his ability to adapt to his surroundings is impressive. William is a valued member of our team and well-deserved of this honor of Employee of the Month. And I know firsthand to go 18 months or 18 years with anybody is a great accomplishment, so I appreciate you doing that. And anything you'd like to say?
Just appreciate everybody here. I mean, ever since I come here, everybody's been really good to me. They have.
We'll continue to do that. Let me get you a plaque too. And I was going to keep it because I've never been awarded Employee of the Month. But since they put your name on, I'm going to give it to you.
Come on.
Let's see, I think we might snap a picture of it here. All right. Thank you, William. Appreciate you. All right, and hopefully Ruth gets up and talks here shortly, because I know she hit a home run this weekend, so we certainly appreciate her. And I think most people might know, but Jonesborough had a great mention, I think, on the Southern Living magazine website. So we live in a great place, and sometimes we need to make sure we don't take it for granted. All right, that's all I've got. Next items are Alderman communications. Alderman, anyone got anything they'd like to share with the public?
I think we need to remember Norman Francis and his family with the loss of him. He dedicated a lot of years to the town of Jonesborough.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Virginia. Stephen?
I'm good.
Good. Gentlemen?
Do have an activity that I hope we put on our calendars, and we've got some flyers down here on the bench for this called Usable Past, Achieving Inclusive Regional Development. This is a collaborative effort between the McKinney Center, the Heritage Alliance, and the Langston Center, also ETSU Africana Studies. And this first session is going to talk about heritage tourism and how there's a lot of money left on the table in terms of heritage tourism, and how there are things going on here in East Tennessee that focus on heritage tourism. So we're asking folks to take the time to register. You can go on the McKinney Center website, register. It is free. And Alicia Phelps, who used to be with us here in town, now is with NETA. Alicia's done some outstanding things in promoting this topic. And then William Isom is out of Knoxville with East Tennessee Public TV, and then Dr. Candace Forbes Bright from ETSU, and they're speaking to again this topic. So if you can participate, April the 29th, 9 o'clock. I think that's a Thursday, and would encourage you to participate.
Thank you, Adam. Terry?
I have a hard time saying no, so the Keep Jonesborough Beautiful, which I really do believe in, and I think you all do too. On May 8th, we're going to have a cleanup day, and we're looking for volunteers from 8 o'clock till noon. That's a Saturday. And my understanding is that we've got, the Corner Cup's going to provide coffee to kick us off, and then Main Street is going to provide some goodies after we're done. So and you're never, if you can lean down and pick up a piece of paper, you're not too old. So please pass the word, and if you can, come out. And we'll, May the 8th, it's a Saturday. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Since we're talking about keeping Jonesborough beautiful, Glenn and I have traded a couple of emails here the last few days. There's one of our residents works for Lowe's, Doug Gross. He was sent me some emails. Evidently Lowe's, and I think we've taken advantages in the past through our park and recs where Lowe's has participated and helped, I think, in Depot Street Park, beautification project there. And they've got another, every year I guess they do something like that, and they're going to award some more grants out there, and some pretty healthy ones. And one thing that I mentioned to him that he could possibly submit would be a beautification project, kind of down Boone Street, because our downtown's beautiful. But when I come by town hall here, sometimes I think, we didn't really spend enough time right here in front of the main place where you drive into this area. So even if we don't get in a grant there, it's something I think Glenn's been thinking about as well. Is we need to kind of put a little focus on this, gateway into downtown.
If I can segue, it's probably just not me, but whether it's Craig or Parks and Rec or Terry or the board, I think the beautification is that welcome to Jonesborough feel is even for economic development, which is, it's not all just about that, but your first impression really does matter. And there is a Boone Street landscape design plan that I'm reviewing that Rachel gave me a copy of. So, it's nice to have those because you want to do the native plants and things that are going to survive. So, yeah, I think it's on many of our agendas to make sure that we're beautifying the areas, and our departments do great. But as we continue to add more and more, of course, there comes more and more maintenance. So
Yeah, maybe we get user-friendly landscapes.
User-friendly, yeah, you do things that are maybe once or twice a year that you got to maintain, but
Yeah.
we're working on it.
All right,
And
very
a part
good.
of the, that Keep Jonesborough, we're gonna have a big truck, and I think it's gonna be in the Food City
Yeah.
East parking lot to put electronic e-waste. And I know I get calls all the time, I got an old printer, what can I do with it? So,
Yeah.
if you know anybody, or if you've got some e-waste, there will be a truck there and hopefully some young bodies to throw it in if you can't do it.
All right, thank you, Alderman. Next item on the agenda is town attorney comments. Jim?
Mayor, we have one item tonight, but several parts of that item, I guess. If you all bear with me for a few minutes. You may or may not remember this far back, but in 2017, a lawsuit was filed by a number of the area district attorney generals. And tonight we have with us, as a guest tonight, our district attorney general, Ken Baldwin, who's sitting beside Chief Street. He's taking his reputation in his own hands here tonight. But,
I know I am.
But General Baldwin and the other district attorney generals in our area brought this lawsuit under what is known as the Drug Dealer Liability Act to hold manufacturers of opioids responsible for some of the damages that our local, the town of Jonesborough and Washington County and Johnson City, as well as other area governments have incurred over the years. That lawsuit has been pending in Sullivan County Circuit Court in front of Chancellor E.G. Moody, and has moved along. A little while back, the Tennessee Supreme Court ruled that the district attorneys could not be the parties. They were the listed parties in the beginning of this, and that the governmental entities would have to become the parties. The county has already done this and adopted a similar resolution to what you have tonight and a retainer agreement, which is the other document I put in front of you tonight. So what's happening is the towns and counties, or cities, municipalities and counties, are being substituted as parties, and the district attorney general has agreed he's staying on as one of the attorneys in the litigation. That, in my opinion, provides some advantages to you, and as a county commissioner, I felt like there were advantages and voted for it at the county level. One is that if there's a settlement, you being the client, it's going to come back to you for approval, along with the other entities, but you're going to be a client. The second thing is that you will govern the recovery of your monies as opposed to someone else doing that. Now I need to give you a caveat to that. Our state attorney general, whose office has no affiliation with our district attorney general, I'll say that before I tell you what they're up to, but our state attorney general has submitted some legislation, or had it submitted in the legislature, that would seize the rights to this litigation to the state, and would, if I'm not mistaken, what I understood Friday was that it would give us about 15% of our recovery, and the state would control the rest. I would encourage you, we're not going to have time probably for you all to meet and adopt a resolution, but I think you might individually speak to our state elected leaders. I understand some of them are already opposed to this, but it's important that they hear your voice if you believe you would be better judges of what should be done with damages that you incurred, as opposed to some committee appointed by legislative leaders. So I would strongly encourage you to get in touch with them and in touch with the governor, because he would obviously have to sign it, to consider opposing that legislation. What you're being asked to do tonight is add 2 items to your agenda. One would be the resolution in support of the lawsuit in general, and 2 would be the retainer agreement hiring the Branstetter, Stranch, and Jennings law firm. And they're the law firm that had been representing both the district attorneys and now represent the county. You'll notice that in that retainer agreement that the town would not be responsible for any of the costs. The costs will be they're being incurred initially by the Branstetter law firm, and unless they're recovered from the defendant, they don't get them back. General Baldwin can speak more to what, I mean, that's a significant amount of money that they're putting up front. If we win, they will seek attorney's fees from the defendant as a separate matter, a separate issue in the damages. And I shouldn't say if we win, I'll get to that in a moment, but when they assess the damages, they'll try to get those assessed separately. If they are not able to do that, then it would be 25% of the recovery. Again, this received very little discussion at the county level, other than to agree that this was a good thing. If you've got questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but I also want to give General Baldwin the opportunity to speak to anything he wants to speak to. But I will tell you the latest development is last week, and this was in the newspaper, you may have seen this, the judge ruled in favor of the municipalities and counties with respect to liability. He found the company liable. That was largely because of the way they've handled the litigation and some things they've done that were underhanded, and he's awarded a default judgment. He set a trial date in July, General Baldwin was telling me earlier, for damages. Now that could get postponed, there's no telling what will happen with that. And likely whatever happens here will go up on appeal. This could take a while. But it's a huge hurdle they've overcome in getting the judge to find them, the defendant, liable. General Baldwin, I don't, if you want to add or
Well, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay.
I'll move on up here just in case someone does have questions. Mr. Ford, how you doing?
Appreciate you being here.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here. I guess what I'd like you to know, right offhand, is the law firm has advanced to date about $5 million of their own money in this effort. So they've paid for all the experts that have been hired. They've put together a great case, worked on it for 4 years. And the way this is probably going to occur, and the way it's has occurred in other parts of the United States, these pharmaceutical companies, once you get to the point that you have a trial that's imminent, they settle. The last time that there was one that was to start on a Monday, they picked a week picking the jury. And this was, I think, in Ohio. But in any event, spent a week picking the jury. The trial was supposed to start the next Monday morning. Well, they settled that night between Sunday night and Monday morning. And that's just the tactical thing they do to try to push this thing out as far as they can. So we're at that point after 4 years now. And we've put, now I keep saying we, I haven't put up a dime, but this law firm has put up all this money. They're ready to go. And as Mr. Wheeler said, because of the underhanded way in which the pharmaceutical companies have handled this case thus far, there's just two issues of the case. Number one, are you liable? Any kind of civil suit, you're liable. Well, that's been granted insofar as a default judgment. That's not an issue anymore. The only issue that's left is damages. And as Mr. Wheeler said, that's a huge hurdle. Most of the discovery's been targeted to the liability issue. So that's done. I'm sure there may be some appeal if we have a trial, but if we settle, there won't be an appeal. And that could occur relatively quickly, just as it did in Ohio. And so I guess I'll say just a little bit about this legislation. Please, if you have any influence with our local legislators, I wish you'd call them and register your opposition to any legislation that would give the Attorney General Slattery, who's not put a dime in this thing, not a dime, not give him the authority to, I just call it usurping the lawsuit. Right now, if we settle, the municipalities and the counties will get 100% of the damages. Not only that, the counties and the municipalities will decide where and how that money is spent. How you might spend it could be different from how Unicoi might spend it, or Johnson City. You would identify what you need here, which could be different, and that would be decided by you. So you would also have control over whether you're going to approve any settlement. If they offer, say, $100 million or whatever, or hope for more than that, I always hope. But anyway, you would decide whether to accept that. That would be solely up to you and the other municipalities and the counties. General Slattery's legislation would take that away from you. He would take away the control as to whether this thing is settled. And not only that, he would take away your control as to how this money would be spent if his legislation is adopted. So that's kind of the long and short of it. To speak to the nuts and bolts of this situation, as Mr. Wheeler said, we have been plaintiffs to the lawsuit. the Court of Appeals rather, said the district attorneys were the appropriate parties to bring the lawsuit, and then it was appealed to the Supreme Court, and they said, no, it has to be the municipalities and counties themselves. So our firm has made a motion to enter all the municipalities and the counties as plaintiffs. And so that's what this paperwork will accomplish. And so that's kind of the long and short of it. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Have some of the pharmaceuticals declared bankruptcy?
Two of them have, but Endo has not. It is a huge pharmaceutical company. They just bought another pharmaceutical company, so they're very liquid right now. So we don't expect them to do that, given their present circumstances.
Thank you.
But if they do, you're not out a dime.
Right.
Right,
Not out a dime.
right.
Well, and I certainly think the control of that needs to remain with the municipalities and the
Yeah.
counties, and we don't need the state to try to step in at the end and tell everybody how to, I guess, spend the money and whether to accept something or not, so. We need to call our legislators, we'll do that.
I would beg you to do that. It's very important at this
Okay.
juncture.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
But for
General-
tonight's business, we will become plaintiffs.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate that.
Very much. Thank you.
All right, Jim,
So at this stage, Mayor, we'd ask you to add to your agenda two items. First, the resolution in support of the Drug Dealer Liability Act lawsuit, and secondly, the retainer agreement. You could do that as one motion to add those to the agenda, but then I'd like you to approve them separately.
Okay. Alderman, you've heard, spoken of Jim. We'll add this to our agenda, two items there, resolution of support joining the lawsuit, and also to enter into the retainer agreement with the so-mentioned law firm. Anyone got any
Move
comments?
to add it to the agenda.
Got a motion to approve to add that to the agenda by Alderman Countermine.
Second.
Second from Alderman Callahan. Any other discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. So now we'll take those separate, and I'll take a motion to agree to enter into the retainer agreement that you have before you.
So moved.
Motion to approve that from Alderman Callahan,
Second.
second from Alderman Causey. Any discussion, Alderman? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. And lastly, we'll take a motion to approve a resolution in support of joining the lawsuit. I'll take a motion for that.
Move to approve.
A motion to approve from Alderman Dixon,
Second.
second from Alderman Causey. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Does that satisfy that, Jim?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate that. Anything else, Jim?
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Now we enter the part for citizens' comments. If you live in the city of Jonesborough or you're one of our water customers, we'd love to hear from you. Anyone have anything they'd like to talk about tonight? Ruth?
Well, I guess I'm supposed to talk into this.
That's a little high for you.
Yeah, just a little bit. Ruth Verhage, 601 West Main Street in Jonesborough. I just want to thank everyone for the support that they showed for our Paws in Blue event this last Saturday night. I went on Faith on Monday. When I started calculations for how much, trying to figure out how much we had to charge to make some money, I used the number of 200 people. Well, as of Monday, when I had to give Breland our final number, we only had sold a little over 100 tickets. So I debated with myself and debated with myself and debated with myself, and I just took a deep breath and I said, go with the 200. By 5:20, we were sold out. We even had to turn our mayor and his 2 daughters away. Because we didn't have enough food. People seemed to really enjoy it. There were people that I had told they could come to the door and get meals with no problem. I was sure that we had to turn away. So next year, I'm already working to reserve the Storytelling Center for next year, and we'll go probably with 300 or 350 meals. And, I mean, it's been a wonderful, we've raised almost $6,000 profit from that event toward positive. So that's the most we've ever accomplished in one event. So it was a good event. What I understand is people are already talking about next year. So that's a real encouraging thing.
And I
So-
saw people I hadn't seen in a year.
That's great. That's really good. And, you know, the thing, if we'd had better weather, and hopefully next year, I know my daughter and son-in-law were 2 of the people that worked on the line serving food, and they told me that they had a suggestion that we have 2 lines next year, because right there at 5:30, it was just really bad. So hopefully the weather will cooperate. We can put 2 lines out on the patio,
Yeah.
you know, so that people can we can facilitate service. So we'll work on any input and suggestions we've had for next year so we can improve. So
It was very
again, I thank you very much.
Very
Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth.
Ruth and her team did a fantastic job, and impressed with their fundraising. We're gonna put her on our budget committee. But, it was an incredible, I think half of us in here are probably there. It was a great event.
I thought
I
I was
would've
gonna,
snuck you in.
I thought I was gonna be smart getting there at 7 o'clock. I thought, well, we put right in the middle, you know, we'll be fine. And Ruth said, I don't have any food for you. And I was so distraught, she says, well, it looks like you gotta go to Tennessee Hills Distillery up there and just sit by the bar with Stephen. So I went up there. Now, fortunately, we have other places that serve food, so I went and got me some carry-out food and carried it back down there and listened to some music and got to see I think it's Nero was in there then, our K9, myself and my daughters, we enjoyed it. All right, thank you, Ruth. Anyone else? All right, yep.
Can't follow Ruth.
I'm gonna clean this real quick.
I'm Carol Salinas, I live at 303 West Main. And this is related to the last meeting. It took the Bright Ridge 15 months or more to get the street light in front of my house working. They finally did. When it went out between Thanksgiving and the 1st of December of 2019. They came finally and fixed it, and it went on and went off and went on and went off, and finally didn't come on at all. And then, so it has been in the dark for at least 10 months. Well, one day I noticed that the whole lantern part was gone, and then about the weekend before the last meeting, it was on. I didn't say anything in public because I wanted to wait and see if it was gonna stay on. But it's on now.
Good.
And I hope it stays on, and I think it's gonna really help for people run, especially with the weather the way it is. A lot of runners go up that street, go up Main Street at 4 and 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning before it gets light, and I've been worried to death that somebody's gonna fall or not see or whatever, so I finally, Bright Ridge
Oh, very good.
Thank you.
did it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Carol. All right, anyone else? Jim?
Mayor, I neglected one thing. In my excitement about the district attorney being here, or maybe nervousness, whichever it was. We have another guest here tonight that I need to introduce, and that's our county attorney, Allison Wilkinson. And we're pleased to have her in our audience tonight. She's here just to observe.
Oh,
But we
Allison.
appreciate her being here too, and I should have done that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Wheeler, no place I'd rather be.
Yeah. I thought she was here representing DAR or something, so, Daughters of the American Revolution. So, appreciate what you do for them.
Thank you, Carol. We appreciate you
All right, so that's, now we'll move into our old business. And the first item on the agenda there is discussion and possible action concerning second and final reading to rezone certain property on Boones Creek Road from R4 to PRD Planned Residential District. Anyone have anything they'd like to mention about that? It's going to be a good development. Again, in the long run, certainly a big benefit to the town of Jonesborough. If there's no questions or comments, I'll take a recommendation to approve it.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Alderman Callahan,
Second, Mayor.
second from Alderman Dixon. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Halsey.
Aye.
Alderman Cunningham.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. And again, it's a PRD development. That's always good for the town of Jonesborough, and we're trying to, even though it's been a successful zone for us, we're trying to make that even better. All right, now we'll move into our new business, discussion and possible action concerning our TCRS employer contribution rate certification. You have that there in front of you, Alderman. Anyone got anything they'd like to discuss about that? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the recommendation.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Alderman Causey,
Second.
second from Alderman Callahan. Anything we'd like to discuss there, gentlemen? All right. Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Halsey.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Cunningham.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried, and it's always good to help out our employees in their retirement in the long run, so it's continuing on with that. Next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action concerning approval of a memorandum of understanding in regard to the retirement of the K-9 officer Loki from the Jonesborough Police Department. And you see that recommendation there. It's makes perfect sense to me. Unfortunately, it's time for Loki to retire, and recommendation there is to let him go live out with his handler, Dustin. So, anyone have any comments about that? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the recommendation.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve from Alderman Countermine and a second from Alderman Callahan. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Cunningham.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Halsey.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. We got a new dog owner in Jonesborough, and a good dog. All right, next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action concerning approval of a special event request application from Sorcerer's Sprint 1 mile run from the Goose Chase organization. I think we had a little tweak to that plan come in today. Glenn, you want to address that real quick?
Sure. This is a Sorcerer's 1 mile run, and received a revised map, which really should have been the corresponding map. I know Chief Streets looked it over. Do you mind to give them a brief? Or I don't think there was any public safety concerns.
With Ms. Hobbs today and Linda, we found out that the original map that was sent in was wrong. This will be a race on the trail only, down First Street, hit the trail and run back on the trail so we can have that race.
Okay, good.
So, worked out.
Karen's here, if you guys want.
Karen's here.
Oh, gosh. Hey. Thank you.
That's the latest
Consider
map
it.
that we have.
Okay. Yeah, I worked 15 years in tourism, so we're big, we're always thinking about tourism. And Harry Potter is a very popular character, kids love it. And we did a race 2 years ago around Star Wars and had a huge turnout. And we think we can have a similar turnout for this race to celebrate Harry Potter's birthday on July 31st. We've been working with Melinda with the town of Jonesborough, and she's actually the one sort of direct us on the course. It's just a mile to keep it short. We want a lot of kids to be there. And I think, talking to the town, they're gonna try to do some after-hours functions at some of the restaurants and different things. And so we're excited. We're just glad to be here in Jonesborough. As you know, we're also doing the haunted half, if you approve it. I know we're tweaking some things there, but hopefully we'll be back next month for that as well.
Great, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Is everybody dressed as Harry Potter on that ride?
That's what we're hoping for.
All right, all
That's
right.
what we're hoping for. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Alderman, see the recommendation there. If
Oh,
you agree, I'm
no.
gonna take a motion, please.
Call me
Jim,
something.
I got a,
Insurance.
The insurance. It's not in the recommendation, but this, I would request that you make this subject to approval of the insurance policy. There's no insurance information in the packet, so we'll need to check that. So if you'd make that subject to approval of the insurance by the town attorney.
We will have all insurance, once it's been approved.
Well, it won't fully be approved until the insurance is turned in and approved.
Yeah. This is the entry fee.
Just one comment I have
Yes.
is, on the news tonight, Washington County is second in Tennessee on the COVID going up. We need to really watch all of our special events, not just this one, but all of them, if they go up. I know Glenn's on top of it,
Yeah.
and he will watch it, and he will stop the event if the rates, if the numbers are skyrocketed.
We've had an interesting,
Yeah.
flow chart of basically, up and down and, maybe about a month ago, the numbers were looking really good and as far as positivity rate being low.
yeah,
Some other numbers were low and, within 48 hours after we were thinking about raising some of our rental capacities based on a number, that number went to about 8 to 15%. And not as bad as it was in November, but Alderman Causey is correct, we're continuing to monitor. We've had two great things. Tennessee's been #1 place to move to and really get away from COVID.
Yeah.
The other second one is sometimes the rate starts rising. We get higher numbers.
right. Well, hopefully as vaccinations, continue, that, becomes less of a concern and being outdoors is probably the safest place you can be. It's safer to be outdoors than it is in your own home in many cases. Thank you, Virginia. Any other comments about that? If not, I'll take a motion on that recommendation.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Alderman Causey,
Second.
second from Alderman Countermine. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman
Aye.
Callahan. Alderman Callahan. Alderman Dixon.
Motion carried. All right, our next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action concerning our water preliminary engineering report from GRW Engineering. And that's just a water planning report, and with all of our growth and everything that we got going on there, and as Glenn said, we've had not just Jonesborough, but we've had our fair share, but they've been a lot of residential growth in Tennessee and in East Tennessee. I probably see somebody every week that's moved here from out of state, California, Illinois, and they're coming here because they like our quality of life and they like our love of somewhat freedom, I think, too. So it's that's okay. All right, Alderman, you got any comments or questions for Glenn and the team on this recommendation?
So moved.
Motion to approve from Alderman Countermine.
Second.
Second from Alderman Callahan. Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Counterman.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. And again, with our growth, it's just something you got to plan ahead. Just so make sure that our water system can support that growth many years to come. So I like it when we're thinking to the future.
And I'm hoping the census numbers will come out next month. And, in the agenda presentation, I put in that percentage of population changes is usually a big one for cities and counties. And I say based on our growth, I'm guesstimating that we'll be in top 1 or top 2 in our region for population growth.
Percentage growth, yeah.
And with percentage growth comes growth, which comes our system, which comes the future. So I think we're on a good path to, and, thanks to Craig and Kevin, the team, and everybody else, GRW, just to make our system as important to us as it is to the citizens. So we're anxious to get started on that report.
All Thank you guys. Yeah, I think it's looking like what, Jonesborough and Kingsport might be the two fastest growing areas in East Tennessee.
Last I reviewed, yes, back in
Yes.
2019 numbers.
Not sure how Kingsport got in there. I used to have an office over there for a long time, but I might question that number. But Jonesborough, I understand. All right, next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action concerning first reading of an ordinance amending the PRD zone parking regulations. Glenn, you want to address that real quick?
So, Mayor, Board, this is a culmination of probably many months of talking about the planned residential development, which is a key district that we have that not only encourages different densities, but different uses within that. Typically, it's going to be residential, which seems to be the trend. It allows for flexibility of setbacks and buffers, and it's a great flexible type of zone, but we've also noticed that with that, I won't say it was developer focused, but it's both pretty much a partnership. And some of the stuff has been about parking, and there's not much in there right now. It basically just talks about 2 minimum parking spaces per unit. And so this takes into consideration a lot of discussions from the Planning Commission, from the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and what I've proposed, which is pretty much almost word for word from the Planning Commission. These were the highlights of the Planning Commission where they passed it. And basically it's letter O, and as you see, I put it in red so we wouldn't miss it. But some of the issues in particular were allowing for a comprehensive parking plan, so that way it opens up the discussion. And let me say, this is kind of the first phase of it. The other big one was the depth of your driveway, 20 feet. Of course, I've calculated, trucks that have long beds, and some of them are 18, 19 feet, and some of them have the trailer hitch on them, and as such. But we thought 20 feet is a good number. And again, I put in there also that it wouldn't encroach into a sidewalk or the road. Believe it or not, there are some people or trucks that are so long they're putting cones behind their vehicles, so someone recognizes there's a hazard or an obstacle in front. I think this, in my opinion, allows for more discussion with the Planning Commission. It also allows the Planning Commission, like the setbacks, is to work with the developer and look at alternative ways of design. And I guess it hits the plan right from the beginning, just like they put their utilities, they put their sidewalks, whether they're going to do it in lieu of. So this kind of segues right in with the development of the PRDs. I still think that this zone itself is so popular. I mean, people, just as we had tonight, are rezoning to the PRD. When they're being annexed, they're wanting to be in the PRD. Sometimes doesn't necessarily mean it's a higher density, but it's just that flexibility. So this, I think, puts it more of a playing field between public and private, discussions and addressing everything, and it's on paper versus just verbal discussions. So I think this will go a long way. Second, we're just looking at more, especially I'm meeting with some of our subdivisions right now, as I've told you, and they're harder to work with an already improved, already current subdivision and trying to kind of that square peg round hole. I think there's definitely discussions and resolve coming in the near future, but we have an opportunity with the new developments to just work it in like we do with our other development plan and regulations and site requirements.
So does this give the Planning Commission some flexibility on
It
working
does.
with the rear setbacks as well, if they wanted more?
They've always have, in the language, it talks about the setbacks, that the Planning Commission can approve or deny setbacks. This does open up, I think, an opportunity to talk about those setbacks. What I've seen with some plans that I've seen a couple different ones, and some of them they already meet this standard. Or they're willing to go with this standard. They're already looking at they already have the standard. They've already heard us discussing this type of topic. So setbacks is one of those big ones that gives that planning commission the authority, and usually they exercise it as just the development plan and they pass them.
Yeah.
This just gives one of those other exercises of conversation and negotiating those different things like setbacks or driveways, and the further you go back on the front, then you're less on the rear. So there should be plenty of space to accommodate what we need to accommodate.
I think that 20 feet in the front is probably minimum there, especially with what we've seen out there in the past. But that gives you on a two-car garage is the way you're looking at that. So it gives you 2 cars in there and enough room for 2 cars outside. So 4 vehicles should be sufficient for a home.
So I met with folks from Mill Creek, and I did a quick survey because it's a large subdivision with different phases, and it seems the trend continues with 2 in the driveway, 2 in the garage, and then it's always what happens to the 5th vehicle, or the garage is no longer uses
you have
car storage; it's used for storage.
Freezers.
Sure. So if you think you have a family of 5 and all 5 drive, we're looking ahead, being proactive to look at what we need to do. And I lived in an apartment for a while before I moved in, and some of especially Kelly's developments, some of the apartments, Mr. Wolf's, there's areas to where there's additional parking for whether it's visitors or homeowners renters.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed not having to use my garage sometimes because it was packed, but there was additional parking, and that took out a lot of stress. And I think that's what a lot of the folks in the PRDs right now would be less stressed if there was just a way to park additional vehicles
For their guests and
safely.
things,
Yeah,
Do
safely.
you think the new requirements in the new PRDs require that?
So the plans I've seen at least one specific plans. I can't remember if I don't think it's been, actually it's the one that we just did for rezoning. I've seen conceptually, I've seen parking spaces, what we normally want, and then the column, I guess they're more off-street, but there are additional parking spaces.
For guests.
Right, throughout, yeah. I don't know if they're regulating them, whether or not it be guest or additional, or the owners or renters,
Yeah,
but
but people
definitely
park boats there.
just a
things like that.
yeah. And I think some of these, especially if they're private developments, they can really control. I mean, they're not meant for long-term storage of vehicles or boats, and we really don't want to get into that. But really the cars are kind of like transient. They're in and out, but as you know, our society, vehicles are going to be the dominant mode of transportation.
Yeah.
They're going to continue. I knew families of 8 back in Kingsport.
Yeah.
Do you think we've solved the problem in Mill Creek?
Pardon me?
Do you think we've solved that problem?
I think we have solved the communication efforts.
I think they
So-
moved out.
So well, yeah, I
They
mean,
moved,
honestly,
we should be fine.
there is a couple that talked to us quite a bit, and I met the new owners last week. But the theme of parking in there is definitely alive. So I corresponded with them all today, asked them individually. There's about 10 different. I just told them just give me their thoughts individually, not collectively at first, and then another way of how do we reach out to the rest of them. Big one for them was basically there seemed to be more in favor of just no overnight parking.
Yeah.
That was a big one, and emergency vehicles, and there's just certain, they understand the roads that certain roads don't need to have parking anywhere on that road. There's just sight distance issues. There's the width isn't enough for 2 cars to pass. So I know they enjoyed the meeting. I thought it went well, and that we're going to continue, and I'm on the hook because they've got my email. So they've emailed me about 10 times today, but I'll keep the board informed, and they know I will as well. But nothing will be resolved until I come back to the board, and I'll keep you updated.
Well, I drive through there often, and it's much improved over what it used to be. So we're certainly moving in the right direction. But no.
Well, we want to try and avoid, and it's no offense to people parking on the grass. That's your property. Park on the grass, but most people don't park on the grass unless they have issues trying to park on their property.
Yeah.
Or, on a driveway or a road, the next default is their grass, and then it tears up the grass, and the grass looks terrible, so.
Yeah.
So the two new subdivisions that we just rezoned PRD, are they gonna be under this regulation?
Yeah, so, this
one
one
on-
that we just rezoned, I'm gonna say yes. The second one, they were here during the annexation from last meeting, and I did turn to concur that they understood that this is gonna be passed. They also were privy, to the language even back when I submitted it to Planning Commission. So I don't expect any issues. We welcome the development, but we were very clear also as the Planning Commission talks through reviewing setbacks and distances. I think that opens the door to also the parking and other subject matters. The developers seem very much in line with wanting to do a harmonious development with the town of Jonesborough. So I'm anticipating we shouldn't have any issues.
Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
Mayor,
Yes,
to add to that, from a legal standpoint, because we were already in the process of changing the ordinance, even with staff development, that's fine. From a legal standpoint, that means they were not grandfathered in when they were zoned that. So there, I understand what Mr. Rosenoff's saying about we don't anticipate any problem. We have explained that to them too, and we should not have any problem as far as enforcement is concerned either.
very good. All right. Alderman, we've heard the good background on that. May I get a motion on that recommendation?
So moved.
Motion to approve from Alderman Causey. Second from Alderman Countermine. Any other
Mayor.
discussion?
Before you vote, I tried to text you this, but you need to read the full caption.
All right, the motions are gonna be for approve the amending of Title 11, Planning and Zoning, Chapter 5, Section 11. Dash 512A, Planned Residential Development, paragraph number 3. Is that what I need to read there, Jim?
Number 3, yeah.
That's correct.
3
All right. That was the motion.
So moved, again.
All right, so moved. Got a motion there again from Alderman Countermine.
Second.
Second from Alderman Causey. Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Ah,
Alderman Callahan. Alderman Dixon.
All right, motion carried. That was our first reading, so we'll be back next month. Finish that. Next item on the agenda is proof of the resolution that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen is authorized and empowered to take action necessary or appropriate to obtain for and on behalf of the town of Jonesborough through a USD loan in the sum not to exceed $2,832,000. Glenn, you want to talk to that real quick? I know it's up to that, and we certainly want to spend less than that. And, it's about a project that, if we operate it right, it's going to be a profitable endeavor that offsets some taxes in the long run, I hope.
I'm not texting anybody, I just have a cheat sheet, which is a text message, cheat sheet to myself. So, as you're aware, I'll dispense with the humor tonight. So the Jackson Theater project, if you think of, it's important to know that you've got the Jackson Theater, you've got the Allen building, Allen property, which we refer to as Stage Door, and then you have JRT. And if you look at kind of like a complex, that's one large complex with 3 different roofs. And so, yeah, one of the main things we've been going back and forth with was a request of staff which is led by our project manager, Bob Browning, and looking at what is it going to take to finish the Jackson, which there's other components of the project as well, especially with some of the stuff in the Stage Door. And GRC, who's our contractor and who's been I guess it's going on almost 4 years. I can't remember how this project has gone on for a long time, which is fine. But in so doing, it's had different changes, different obstacles. We obviously want to close it in and dry it up, get it dried in. I mean, so we're at a point right now. The question was it going to take to finish Jackson? Well, go further with the other question is really what is it going to take to open the door to a show? The numbers that are provided to you, it's a little over 2.8 million. The breakdown, and I know I gave you a later memo, and there's been several memos on this trying to keep up with as far as the monies. There's a lot of additional or a lot of contingency money on the project. It basically totals at the end of the day about $250,000. GRC came in at 2.4 million for basically, if you think about construction. There's legal, 12,500 estimated. There's additional architect fee of 10,203. And again, these are projections. Interest, based on what we think interest will be during the course of interim financing before USDA actually comes in and floats the loan for the project. 30,000. Equipment, 230,000. And then there was a breakdown in one or two of the memos that talks about the Allen building or stage door at 100,000, which totals 2,832,703. That's what's estimated, and that number can fluctuate. I mean, that number can fluctuate. Our hope is it fluctuates down, not up. We're hopeful that materials that may have been projected up here, and with the pandemic or COVID or lead times on materials, we're hoping that some of those materials at some point will reduce. Some people say they might go up. Some people say steel goes up and then it goes down. PVC goes up and then it goes down, or it stays the same. So to finish the project, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Does this commit? This might be something for Mr. Wheeler to chime in on, but does it commit to go to USDA? We have to go to them with an official application, and then USDA requires that we also follow up with a resolution of the board. Does this commit to what they call the preliminary architectural report, or the numbers I just gave you on GRC? That is the numbers that becomes part of the document that goes along with this request. The question, I guess, is more of if it comes in less, do we have to change it? If it comes in at the 2.8, are we okay? Do we have to spend that 2.8? If we got, I'm making this up, if we were able to get federal dollars, and there was X number of dollars that we're able to subsidize the project, can we use that? Sure. Can we take out of the general fund? Yes. So this is just authorizing, in my opinion, it's authorizing USDA to continue on with the application, but we still have a step called interim financing. The board still has to approve that in its true form or its official form, and then from there we also, obviously USDA has to approve us to move forward on the project. They funded us already from the past. We're actually, I think we still have some monies left, if I remember right, to finish off basically any of the USDA money that we have for Jackson, and this is additional costs. Some of it is definitely going to be COVID related, where we didn't have any inmate labors. Other things are material costs, but ultimately it was asking GRC what's it going to take for the rest of the construction.
Yeah, well, with us going to the GRC, that's using them has kind of expedited the whole project. I think if we'd have continued and trying to use inmate labor, we'd be working there probably for another 5 years. Might never get that back. So
there's just certain levels, and Mr. Ford can attest to it. I think there's certain levels of skill set that contracting, it gets it done. Yeah. There's a demand for them to get it done, and they're under I say our ownership
Yeah.
to get it done versus inmates, to where we're just really glad when they're able to help us, and that's been a long standing for Jonesborough, but currently they're predominantly still incarcerated and not able to join us on our major capital projects.
Well, if we think about this being an economic driver for Jonesborough, and I've always felt like that it's gonna be a great draw for our town. You always wanna get something built as inexpensively as you can, but, we're, faced with what we are, but I still think it's gonna be an economic plus for the town of Jonesborough, so we just need to make sure we operate it that way, and I think I traded a little email with you today. I think
Sure.
big thing, we can't be thinking about we're gonna sell $13 tickets down there. We need to be selling tickets for a price that allows us to break even or make a profit down there. So it's gonna be more about how we run that facility once we get it in there. But the sooner we get that open, the sooner we start recouping a lot of that money and start generating new tax revenue in Jonesborough. And I think that certainly sooner the better.
I was half joking with Ruth's report, but her report was, of course, a positive sign that it was a profit. They need that to continue on with that great Paws and Blue program and those officer dogs. So it's a win-win. The other thing is that we will continue to beat the pricing. We'll continue to look at the pricing. We'll continue to look at any aspects of the project that we can to reduce it. Again, this is, if we don't jump ahead, then we can't get locked in at a potential rate, which I think is right now 2.25. And that usually lasts for a quarter.
Yeah, that's an attractive rate, and there's probably a risk that it goes back up. I doubt it ever goes much lower than that. Alderman, you got any questions for Glenn or Jim or no?
I fully support the Jackson. Everybody knows that. But I feel like that on the figures, we need it broke down a little bit more, like equipment. In one memo, it says 200,000 for the lighting. And if that just leaves 30,000 for everything else that you have to have, I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can get the popcorn machines and everything that is in one of the memos, because we're getting so many, and every one of them are contradictory.
Yeah, there's a lot of updated memos.
Yeah, there's none consistent. We need something in writing that says, just like I had asked you for the breakdown, which you just gave.
Sure.
I don't mind that. And one other thing, which I wasn't gonna bring up, but I'm going to anyway, is on the architect. I know Abby's got a letter stating that there would be no more charges on it. If there is an additional charge, we need to have a contract to see what it is for.
Sure. I think, and anything that you want to direct staff to, I'm obviously more than willing to, keep the conversation alive. I can provide, like I've done outside the meetings, of just individually updating the board members on more of a consistent breakdown, because it's similar to other projects that 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and sometimes you go from 2.2 to 2.4, and so I can do a more simplified breakdown of each component. What does equipment really mean, and answer those questions that you're talking about. The other is, if you want to direct staff to work with the city attorney on the original contract, the original. I mean, this is probably going back, I think it's 4 years, going back to that, and then reporting back to the board on that aspect as well. I'd be more than glad to take those as major reporting back to y'all.
I would like to see you break it down, because the way it is right now, it's one memo's one thing, one's another, and it's really hard to follow.
Yeah, I can do a Glenn Rosenoff memo.
There you
That's
go.
wonderful.
Abbreviate it a little bit.
That'd be
Don't
great.
get distracted by all the verbiage. We just want to see the numbers.
I can do that. Does the board feel comfortable moving forward, or do we want to move forward with the condition that I feed the board members A, B, or C, or 1, 2, and 3, and get a more of a consensus to submit that to USDA? If not, I would definitely recommend giving me a time frame to get back to you and have a called meeting, so that we can at least lock in the rate at that particular point.
We can move forward, but the items, the one especially that I'm questioning, you can come back with that.
Absolutely.
You know.
I can do that.
Yeah, we're not committing to all the little details on the inside
Okay.
right now. We're committing
Okay.
to proceed with the loan, and then we'll tweak those numbers
Yep.
if we need to.
I'll follow through immediately on those.
Yeah. And again, to me, it's gonna come down in the long run is the revenue side of it, once we get it open, how we operated it. It needs to be operated like a business. One of our former aldermen said, that's kind of what he used to always say, you gotta operate it like a business, and gotta have a business plan, and just the numbers I've seen, it comes down to the ticket price, and I think we're gonna have the demand there. If the demand's there, and we got the correct
Think
ticket
so.
price, we'll show profit down there, a pretty healthy one, I think, so.
Yeah, I think it's gonna have a ripple effect on the
Yeah.
downtown merchants, but again, the corridors as well, because people are traveling in and out of here, and they're having to use our major corridor, so they're stopping and eating or shopping or coming downtown, so,
Makes me think of that old Ross Perot slogan. It says, that sucking sound you hear is going to be all the theater goers sucking out of Barter Theater in Johnson City down to Jonesborough. So. That's my attempt at Glenn Rosenoff humor there. All right, Alderman, you've heard the background on that. I'll take a motion for that recommendation.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Alderman Causey.
Second.
Second from Alderman Countermine. Any other discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Aye.
Right.
Alderman Callahan. Alderman Dixon.
All right, motion carried. All right, last item. I think we just kick that off till 2022. What do y'all think? Just delay that one?
I think
All
that's
right,
good.
discussion and possible action concerning the retirement of our town recorder. And yeah, she's been so valuable, she deserves to retire with accolades. But we certainly appreciate all of her service, nearly 20 years to the town. And you've made a difference in the town of Jonesborough, Abby. You really have. And we gotta
We need
make
to have
sure
a
you
big
hang.
party.
What's that?
We need to have a big party.
That's right. That's right.
Party, Donna.
We'll, yeah, we'll make it July, we'll make it during Jonesborough days. We'll just invite her out there. We'll do a parade and everything. She won't know what's going on. But very valuable. And I tell you, I've always liked the fact that, Abby, she watches her dollars. And the reason the town of Jonesborough is in such a pretty strong financial position right now is just a good stewardship over her, 20 years of service.
Yep.
And, we're gonna be challenged as a board to bring somebody on that's just as talented and that works well with our staff. It's important that we've got a team here at Town Hall, and they need to get along well. And the blending of Craig and Glenn and Abby and everybody else has been really strong. So, bringing somebody in to replace Abby is going to be a tall task, but, we're going to meet the challenge just like we did with the retirement of Bob. But we can't ever forget the valuable lessons and the performance of Abby. We get, every year you get the auditors bragging on what you do here, so we appreciate it.
It's a team effort, definitely.
Yep.
And I just want to thank you for allowing me to come to work every day and work with amazing people.
Yeah.
And that will be the hardest thing to walk away from, serving you, working with
Yep.
staff and with citizens.
Yeah,
That's the hardest thing to walk away from. It's a family, it truly is a family.
I understand that.
I don't wanna get her more emotional, but can I at least read the background?
Yes.
Okay. This is knowing Abby for less than a year, okay, so there would have been multiple paragraphs.
multiple. But I think, for her service, especially at the financial, couldn't ask for a better recorder. But our town recorder, Abby Miller, has announced her plans to retire effective Friday, September 17th, 2021. Abby has nearly 20 years with the town. In that short amount of time that I've been town administrator here, she's been the consummate professional and a great team partner. Her desire to keep Jonesborough financially healthy is a testament to her strong and unselfish relationship with the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, the unique relationships we share with other organizations, and most of all, the employees, aka Team Jonesborough.
Thanks, Glenn. And I guess, Abby, you do know that we've got a retirement office right here. You come there every day.
That's where they go.
Well, with that retirement, we're gonna take the same approach we did with Mr. Browning. We're gonna go out and get the best and brightest, and we already got that kinda laying some groundwork for that. And so Alderman, we'll take the same approach we did with Glenn. So just be on the lookout. Jim?
You need to move, you normally do these under your consent agenda, but because you've not done that, you need to do a motion to accept the retirement.
Do I have to? I guess I do have to.
Oh, man.
All right, Alderman, I need a motion to accept the retirement recommendation from Abby Miller.
So
Make a motion.
move with regrets, but also great joy.
Got a motion to approve from Alderman Dixon and a second
Second.
from Alderman Causey. All right. Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
All right, very good. So that's the bad news. Good news is we've got her until September 17th. All right, I think that's all. Motion to adjourn.
Did we say subject to CDC